So my interest in business in general started with my father, who owns a retailer in Costa Rica, and ever since I was young, he always talked to me about whatever problems he was encountering with the firm. And then as I grew up, he actually started to be instead of just telling me, he started to ask me what I thought about it. And with like over time, my interest grew. And eventually, when I was around 15 years old, I wanted to get involved somehow in business, and I was able to get involved through an organization called Youth Action Foundation in Costa Rica, which was a nonprofit organization that tried to help teenagers in impoverished communities. And the way they did this was by setting up a company that sold shirts and then employing the teenagers in these impoverished communities. So I got involved helping recruit the teenagers and then helping them run the company. This way, their source of income would be the company and not illegal activities like selling drugs or robbing people. And after an involvement of around a year or so, I moved on to other pursuits and nonprofits. And then towards the end of high school, I finally got involved in a purely professional activity, which was my internship in Ernst and Young, where I did a lot of research in the for in of the hotel industry in Nicaragua, which because the EY was managing the transaction of the sale of a hotel called Hotel Dario in Nicaragua, and we had to do a lot of research to create the pitch for investors of this hotel. And after that, in this past summer, I worked in a bank in Costa Rica called Banco Promérica, where I also did a lot of research concerning the bank's portfolio and concerning the bank's portfolio and the basically how each industry it's invested in was performing and whether it had to divest from certain industries given the economic circumstances of Costa Rica. What qualifies me to work at Bain are two main things. First of all, my ability to work with people. I am a person that in my personal and professional life I connect with people very deeply. I usually when I meet them I have a lot of interest in learning who they are, where they come from, how have their experiences shaped them, and this has in my personal life this has allowed me to create very deep friendships, and in my professional life this has allowed me to work well with people because my interest in them pays off by afterwards when we're working in a team knowing like for example what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and also when it comes to conflicts and how to solve them, I know the right way to approach them in order to ensure that the conflict will be solved and not that it will just become a fight where there will be no like consent at the end. And the second strength that makes me like right for working at Bain would be the diversity of thought I bring. I come from a very different background than most people. I have lived in Nicaragua and Costa Rica, and coming from abroad, I feel like I've known different cultures. I've and that it helps me usually see problems in a way that most people that just have been born like that were born and lived in the U.S. maybe haven't because they have lived they have lived a similar life like a very like experiences that do not allow them to differentiate their approaches from other employees, and usually my experiences allow me to see things a different way and come up with creative solutions that most people generally don't think of. How many cars are driven in the US? I would say, first of all, we would start to look at the population. So, the population of the United States is around 350 million people. After that, it's not like not everybody has a car. I would say probably there's an average of two cars per family, and the average family size that would be around five people. So if you divide 350 by five, you have 70 million. And then if you multiply it by two, which the 70 million would be the number of families, by two would be 140. So I would say that the number of cars driven in the US is around 140 million cars. what I can contribute to Bain, I would think, would be generally, like personally, for example, in college, I did not choose to join 10 clubs and like spend a little bit of time in each one. Instead, I chose a couple which I was really passionate about, and I dedicated a lot of my time with them to them. Similarly, in my professional life, I anticipate I will not be jumping from company to company every 3 years, just looking to advance to the next rung, or I would choose a company that I feel is the right place for me, that I feel I would be comfortable in, and then dedicate basically all my time and all my efforts to doing my job, doing it well, and then getting to know the people in the company so I can become a valuable a member of the community and not just a worker. So I feel within Bain, I feel it would be, first of all, uh, extremely dedicated in terms of my time. I would constantly, I would work, and I would be passionate about my work, which would drive me to generally do well, do better. And then I feel I would also spend a lot of time trying to get to know my fellow coworkers and generally anybody part of the Bain community, because I feel like that way I can be generally a more valuable part of Bain, and generally help and be part of the community outside just the job, and be able to participate in any other activities that the company has.